A girl at a Jesuit school tried out for the part of Jesus in her school play and got the part. But when her school administrators found out, they took the part away from her, saying that only a man should be allowed to play Jesus. And instead, they gave her the part of Pontius Pilate, which was kind of amusing.
Yes.
So they didn't have a problem necessarily with women playing men's roles. They just had a problem with the woman playing Jesus. New experiments show that life may have originated in space. The upshot of this is that they did some experiments on conditions that you would find in space near forming stars and found that you could get some basic organic molecules essential to the formation of life out of that. Really weird, cool story. Researchers use super cool goo to dramatically slow the speed of light. Apparently, they fired a laser beam through a super-cooled glob of something called Bose-Einstein condensate, a microscopic glob of atoms slowed to almost absolute zero. And they got light moving through that to go at a speed of a very leisurely 38 miles an hour, which was very bizarre.
Yes.
I think we may have more interesting news coming out about that as they think of applications for this. And there was a review on CNN. I won't go into detail because it's long, but apparently there's a new book out called The Templar Revelation by Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince. Now these are the same people who their last book was The Turin Shroud in Whose Image, where they claimed that the Shroud of Turin was an example of early photography and that it was a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci, which is a load of nonsense because the shroud has been replicated by draping cloth over religious icons and just dry brushing on pigment. So that there was absolutely no reason for that hypothesis in the first place. Their new book, they take a lot of the information about the Egyptian origins of some early Jewish and Christian ideology, and they mix in a hefty dose of conspiracy theory and Templars and ancient cults and things, and come up with this cockamamie debunking of the origins of Christianity. Unfortunately, they're doing it by mixing in a lot of nonsense, which doesn't do those of us who really care about the actual origins of Christianity any darn good. But I urge people to go and check out this review if you can find it on the web.
Have an interesting history.
Yes, they do.
And
I'm not sure exactly how the Templars work into their theory, but apparently they think that all the world's religions are in some massive conspiracy to hide their actual origins, and that their actual origins are even more wacky and in completely unnecessary and unprovable ways than some of the actual theories say about the
They mean that religion can actually get more wacky?
Apparently so.
Well, just remind everyone, this is February 21st. We are taking your calls live. So now, welcome Vic to the show.
Hi.
And you wanted to share with us some of the things that people have, believers. Go ahead and introduce
stuff that the believers have told me as reasons that legitimate reasons, as they thought, to come over and to believe in God and all that stuff. And I tried to think of all the ones that I've heard since I've been an atheist a long time. I've heard a lot.
And I'd love to hear from the callers if they've heard anything.
Yeah, if you're an atheist out there and you've had a story, or you got a story where someone's told you some kind of a wacky reason why you should believe in God, tell us. I'd like to know. What I've discovered is there's not that many. There's actually the same ones reworded over and over and over again. And I wrote down the 10 that I could think of that were not
like a top 10
top 10 list. Top 10 list of wacky reasons why Christians have given to believe in God. Sure. Number 10, you really do believe, or you wouldn't be talking about it.
I've got that one, yes.
I've had that one several times. Okay, one of the callers on the call to this show one time has said this one. It says, follow your logic or your reason and it will lead you to God. Okay. Number 8, you are all cold, empty people unless you accept God or Jesus. Okay. Number 7, What happened to you? Something happened to you during your life that's caused you to reject God. To something how God's disappointed you. I got that one just the other day.
I get that one a lot. They think because I didn't get the pony for Christmas or something.
Oh, I hate God.
So far, all these are questions and assertions. Not one of them even approaches evidence.
Excellent point.
Number 6, pray to God for faith.
Okay.
Okay. Number 5, you must believe as a child. That's one of the callers that came in here and called this show. So if you believe as a child, and then God will reveal himself to you. You have to believe first, and then God will show himself to you. Number 4, if God is not real, how could you exist? Or where could you get your morals? As if all morals and all existence come from God. If you suppose that first, well then yeah, but... number 3, you reject God because you don't want to be constrained by God's laws, or you just like being evil.
Just like being
yeah, I just love to be evil. Number 2, you know that in your heart that God is real, or you are born knowing that God is real. Sorry, like Jeff said last week, my heart pumps blood. Doesn't do any thinking. That's all done up here. Number 1, if you just read the Bible, you will feel God.
You will feel God.
Yes, you can read the Bible. Well, folks, I read the Bible, and all I felt was this was a silly book. You know, it's really it's a very bad, poorly written story with shallow characters and just mean stuff. That's my top 10 silly reasons that Christians have given me to believe in God.
And I've gotten, I think, just about every one of those.
And when I started to think about it, what I saw was that the reasons are replayed over and over again. People have different wording of it, but it's the same story.
And I kept track. One of those amounted to an argument.
Which one?
I think 3 is the
you reject God because you don't want to be...
the try 4.
If God is not real, how could you exist?
Right. I mean, that's at least an argument. That's in the form of, well, here is something that we think is evidence that we can look at. All the rest of them are, I'm telling you what you really believe, or I'm just telling you that it's true, which is an assertion, it's not evidence. Or there are questions about your motives for not believing.
Yeah.
Wow.
What I've found is that every time I've ever gotten into a discussion or tried to get into a discussion with someone who believes as to what I think and the way they think, that results in, you don't believe? Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay? That cuts the conversation. The other side is that what they'll do is they'll try to argue some of these things with you, and then when you don't just immediately come over, then they get mad. And they get angry and start shouting obscenities at you, and then the conversation just is gone. That's the only 2 things that's ever happened. Ever.
In filling out the questionnaire here for the this month's newsletter about the TV show, that was one of the questions, is why are we here? They're asking us to answer why are we here, because they're saying that there is proof enough for God. If we're here, there has to be God.
Right.
And that just blows me away.
Look, there's my uncles.
I see some lights calling, and we'll get to the callers here in just a minute. Just remind everyone, once we're done here, we head down to the bagel shop down at 5th and Lavaca, and it's free and open to the public. And we always like meeting new faces, new people. See what we're getting some names here on these callers here in just a second here. And
in the meantime, I dug out of the library Sue gave me this box and it had all this stuff in it, and this was religions of the world. It's like a comparative religion thing. So I'm going to edit one of the words for television, and it says Taoism, stuff happens. Hare Krishna, stuff happens. Ramadama Ding Dong. Hinduism, this stuff happened before. Islam, if stuff happens, take a hostage. Zen, what is the sound of stuff happening? Buddhism, when stuff happens, is it really stuff? Confucianism, Confucius say stuff happens. Seventh-day Adventist, stuff happens on Saturdays. Protestantism, stuff won't happen if I work harder. Catholicism, if stuff happens, I deserve it. Jehovah's Witnesses, knock knock, stuff happens. Unitarians, what is this stuff? Mormons, stuff happens again and again and again. Judaism, why does this stuff always happen to me? Rastafarianism? I can't pronounce that word.
That's close enough.
Let's smoke this stuff.
That's good. I like that. And I'm sure people can figure out what stuff.
What stuff is, yeah.
Yes. All right, let's go to Pete. Pete? Well,
Yeah, we don't hear nobody.
We had the phones.
I hit the air button and he's gone. So let me try line 2 here with John.
Oh.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I just don't understand. I mean, it's okay to believe whatever you want to believe, but I don't understand why you have to bash other people's beliefs to get your point across. I mean, what the lady on the phone said, that's what you're used to because, you believe in something unusual, but that's other people's opinions. But, I mean, just the fact that, you're making fun of, like, religions and the top 10 list, what, problems with Christians and what you just did with each individual religion's name, that's kind of funny. But, I mean, I don't understand why you have to do that, just, why you make fun of people just to get your point across. I mean, it really is kind of childish. That's kind of something you would do in class.
Let me ask you, do you take offense to this, the religions of the world thing I just did?
Do I take?
Is that
I do
offending
take
to you?
offense to that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all believe what we want to believe. I mean, you're an atheist. You don't believe in anything, so that's cool. I mean, that's fine.
Question.
Go ahead.
I asked, you do personally take offense to this kind of stuff?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well.
But I mean, I'm not gonna bash. I don't sit around, making fun of atheists and stuff just because I believe in something different. See, I believe in God, and I believe, stuff like that, but I'm not actually a Christian. I don't go to church because there are some things that I don't agree with. And, one thing that really kind of turned me off to church and stuff like that is televangelists. That makes Christianity look pretty bad.
No, televangelists turn everybody off.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't go around,
I honestly don't think we're bashing anyone. We're trying to be entertaining and informing at the same time. And that I don't consider that bashing in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
how about you, Jeff? Or Vic?
Since I've been an atheist a long time, I've been assaulted by these people before. I've been held in a corner and told that I'd be changed, but my ways will change.
I could understand that.
And so if I take a little stab at Christians, and I do, it's particularly at Christians because never has a Muslim or a Jew or a Taoist come to my door with their book in their hand saying, "Here, you must read this." And so if I poke at Christians a little bit, I've been through the ringer with them. So
yeah. Just remember, if you're, I'm not trying to tell you how to do things, but it almost takes away from the seriousness or almost the conviction you have for what you believe in if you are making fun of somebody. And that's just what other people would perceive of you.
Interesting point. But the first top 10 list he did is actually true. These are things,
these are things that have been told to
actually say to us. You can't call that bashing at all.
It's in the form of a David Letterman top 10 list, but we didn't make those up.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
So.
And so we're, that is the Atheist Experience. We're trying to share the Atheist Experience with Austin.
And this is what you deal with when you're an atheist. There are people out there. There are Christians out there that I know, friends of mine, who, we get along just fine. We don't have a problem with the religion thing. But there are others out there that once they've discovered or you admit that you're an atheist, it becomes their all-encompassing mission in life to convert you. And they stop at nothing to do it. And they won't listen to reason. They won't listen to anything you have to say.
Abortion or whatever.
Pardon?
I see that's like being gay and abortion, and some of those people get really wound up in one thing and just pursue it.
And they do the same thing to atheists too. The same thing they do to abortion clinics, and the same thing they do to funerals of dead boys. They do that to atheists, the same thing.
But just remember too, or put this out, that we all understand this too. It's something that doesn't have to be said, but not all those people are that way.
No, I agree. Not all of them are that way.
Not all atheists are running around with goat horns and.
And we get some very wonderful, very well-spoken, very open-minded Christians that call in, and they're our friends.
Right.
We are not here just to make Christianity look bad. We are here to try to entertain people and get our ideas out.
Right.
And it's tough that when we get our ideas out, when our ideas are in conflict with other people's ideas, a lot of times that may feel like bashing to the people whose ideas we're disagreeing with. But we try not to be hostile.
Well, thanks for letting me talk to you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for calling.
You have a great week. All right, let's go on down to Martha.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a little while since I've been able to call in and say hey to you guys.
Well, thank you.
Excuse me. I've got a couple of things to talk about. One, before I forget it, is I think it would be a wonderful fundraiser for the council if you guys could get some of those songs together you play at the beginning of your shows every week, put them on a CD and sell them. I would love to buy it, believe me. I'd probably buy several for gifts.
Oh, yeah? Well, thanks. And,
we'd have to get permission from all those musicians first.
Yeah, there are copyright
That'd be
issues involved.
Right, okay, so most of them aren't local, or...
A few of them are.
Okay. Well, just a thought,
the one, the Happy Neighborhood Atheist, Dan Barker, is actually coming to town April 2nd. And so you can come down and meet him in person.
And also, Kellen, who does our webpage, has been compiling a list of atheist songs and movies.
Yes.
That she's, I don't know if it's up on the webpage yet, but if not, it will be there soon. You can check that for places that you can find this music.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, Martha. I'm sorry, we interrupted.
Oh, that's super. I'm glad to hear that. The other thing is the gentleman's first sentence that you just started you were just talking to. The first sentence out of his mouth. Just kind of one thing he needs to understand is for centuries, people who have not been Christian have been murdered, have been run out of town, children taken away from them, on and on and on and on. And people who are not Christian are finally, in the last 30 years or so, deciding to take a stand and say, listen, our laws say we can believe what we feel is right for our life. And we're finally taking a stand about it. And I know that it is scaring the you-know-what out of all the Christians. Because they're somehow thinking we're going to just take over the world.
Or it's the apocalypse.
Right. I mean,
the end
it's
times.
so ridiculous.
Yes.
Because I personally, I don't just start talking to anybody about my personal spiritual beliefs. Because I have a real mixture of a lot of different things. I was raised in the military. I lived overseas and had experiences with a lot of different religions. There are some things about Buddhism that I really like.
Yes.
There are some things, I call myself Wiccan, but there's a lot of things about a lot of different religions that I just kind of incorporate into my meditations and to just my daily way of living. And this guy has to understand we're finally taking a stand to stand up for our rights.
Yes.
And he needs to get over it.
Thank you.
You know, I had an experience when I was in college where this girl found out that I did not believe in Christianity, and she literally, it was like 8:30 at night, we were going across this bridge that crossed the campus, and she literally grabbed my arm and tried to force me down on my knees to make me start praying for my soul. And it was like, this is borderline assault.
Yes.
You know, but yet if I had said anything to anybody, well, you know, I couldn't. I mean, there was no way I could go and complain saying this girl had physically tried to handle me or anything. I mean, it was just kind of so. But anyway, so this guy needs to kind of understand that.
Thank you.
I
we're fighting for our own beliefs. I don't care what he believes. I just want to be allowed to believe what I want to believe.
There you go.
I had a similar experience in high school where three larger fellas cornered me in a breezeway between two doors and was going to hold me there until I said my prayer and confessed my undying love to Jesus. Well, fortunately, a teacher walked through the door, and that was my opportunity to bolt, and so I did. But I mean, literally, they were surrounding me up against the wall, and they were just going to hold me there until I changed my ways. And that was their take on it. They were doing me a favor.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you calling.
You guys keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You have a great week. All right, I see Joe is on the line here. Let's go. Joe?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Joe Zemecki, my former co-host.
Hi, Joe.
All right, how's it going?
Joe?
He's now my New Jersey correspondent, I guess.
That's right.
And,
well, I guess we're talking about atheist persecution, huh?
well,
To a degree.
That's
dumb
fun.
things believers say to atheists basically is what the topic is. Do you have any news for us?
Well, not much. I don't know if you guys have discussed this before, but I thought you probably have. It's about the Pope again. It's about indulgences. The Pope is bringing that back.
We haven't discussed that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. There's a 30-year mortgage, debit cards, and banking by phone, but now the Roman Catholic Church has brought back a practice which even many of its followers had consigned to the historical dustbin as most obsolete thinking and an embarrassment, even an overt expressionism of greed and commercialism. And the Canterbury Tales were written about that, something in the Canterbury, I haven't even read that, but it has mocked that actual position. Pope John Paul II has officially declared the year 2000 as a great jubilee for believers and announced that God would now be honoring indulgences, credit earned toward punishment time in purgatory, which is a realm that the Vatican teaches is almost as unpleasant as hell, but only temporary in its duration, and it's also not mentioned in the Bible. It's one of that third place besides heaven and hell. And of course, being an ex-Catholic myself, that really sounds tempting because I understand purgatory very clearly from what they taught us, and these indulgences were actually one of the reasons why we have Lutherans now. Martin Luther was one of the people complaining about that. And
that's true.
And there was lots of things the Vatican was doing at the time that were just downright obvious, like that in simony, where they would sell sacred things for money, and call something sacred, and all of a sudden they had a price tag on it. That's the Pope, anyway. Then I had a joke.
Sure.
Kind of a lame one, though.
Let's hear it.
Once upon a time, Santa Claus was getting ready for his annual trip, but there were problems everywhere. 4 of his elves got sick, and the trainee elves did not produce the toys as fast as the regular ones. Santa began to feel the pressure of being behind schedule. Then Mrs. Claus said that her mother was coming to visit. This stressed Santa out even more. Going to harness the reindeer, he found that 2 of the reindeer had jumped the fence and were out, heaven knows where. Beginning to load the sleigh, one of the boards cracked and the toy bag fell to the ground and scattered the toys everywhere. Santa was into the house. He went into the house for a cup of coffee and a shot of whiskey. Going to the cupboard, he saw the elves had hidden the liquor and there was nothing to drink. In his frustration, he accidentally dropped the coffee pot and it broke into hundreds of little pieces all over the kitchen floor. He went to get the broom, but mice had eaten the straw it was made of. Just then the doorbell rang and Santa cussed on his way to the door. He opened the door and there was a little angel with a great big Christmas tree. The angel said very cheerfully, "Merry Christmas, Santa. Isn't it just a lovely day? I have a beautiful tree for you. Isn't it just a lovely tree? Where would you like me to stick it?" Thus began the tradition of the little angel on top of the Christmas tree.
Okay.
For some rage is good.
There you go.
Anyway, just had to add that in there.
Yes. And I actually heard that one over Christmas time. But no, that was good though.
Okay. Well,
anything else?
No, I guess that's it. I'll be calling you next week then.
All right. You have a great week.
Thanks.
Later, Joe.
Take care.
Bye, Joe.
Let's go on down to Rick.
Hello?
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. Hey, first of all, I called y'all last Sunday, and I really apologize. I got excited and didn't let y'all talk. You know, if you'll remember that I called about when the guy was talking about aliens.
I don't remember, but
okay.
It's
anyway,
a whole new week.
Well, you hung up on me, and I don't blame you. I got excited. So
okay, it's done forgotten. So it's a new week. What
cool.
would you like to say to this week?
That's cool. First of all, let's see. There are some people out there that claim they're Christians, and I know that there are people out there that claim to be Christians, and they do some bad things, and they make a bad name for all of us. And I'm glad to hear that all y'all have friends that are Christians, and they don't like corner y'all up against the wall and make you bow down on your knees. And yeah, I disagree with that. We all have our own will, and we choose to believe what we want to believe. I'm Christian, and the guy that called a while ago just man, have some guts, man. You know, don't deny yourself being a Christian. I mean, these guys, they have guts. They're on TV right here, and they're calling themselves atheists. So have some guts when you call up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the Book of Revelation, if I'm right, this is why there's desperation. If the Bible is right, and I believe it's right, and y'all don't.
Right.
But you all three sitting there will definitely have your chance to make Christians bow down if the Bible's right.
To make Christians bow down.
Oh, I got to hear this.
Who says we want that?
Well, okay. This is what the Bible says, okay? And you all three up there are definitely, I mean, you could be murderers. You don't know. But it says Christians will be murdered.
I think I would know that.
Yeah. That's what's so scary. If the Bible's correct, if it is, during the 7-year tribulation, Christians will be martyred. I mean, like what's happening in China right now. They have to study the Bible underground. And if they're caught studying the Bible, even saying the word of Jesus, they're killed for it. That's what it's going to be like worldwide. It's going to be like Hitler. And that is what's so scary, to think that you three guys up there could once corner me, my wife, and my little 7-year-old boy and kill us.
But why are you accusing us of wanting this?
Murder my wife and murder me.
Excuse me, sir. Why are you accusing us of wanting this? We don't want this. I'll tell you right now.
You will, though.
I don't want it.
I'm saying you don't want it now. I'm not saying you want it now.
Because your holy book has this prediction about the end times. Therefore, you feel that you have the right to tell me what I'm going to think and what I'm going to want? No, I think I'm in charge of what I'm going to think and what I'm going to want.
There's a problem. See, I've read Revelations too, and the problem with that is you really have to reach in and dig out what you want out of it. Because if you read it for the words that it's written in, it's just a nonsensical diatribe. Doesn't say anything. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, they introduce the character and they don't do anything else after that. Everything that comes out of all this doom and gloom that comes out of Revelations is what people read into it. You take a little passage here and there and you twist the meaning around a little bit, and then you got predictions.
I didn't twist nothing around, though. I read it word for word. It was black and white.
Okay, let me rephrase. It's an interpretation. What it says and what people think it means are two different things.
So, do you think we're in the 7 years of tribulation right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, because Jesus hasn't came yet.
So we haven't reached that point yet?
God hasn't came yet. Jesus hadn't come yet.
So Jesus is God?
So
I believe that Jesus is God. He's part of the Trinity.
1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1.
Well, there's 3 parts of an egg, but there's only 1 egg. I can't get into that because I'm not really good enough to do that. You understand?
I give that
one.
There's 3 parts of an egg.
But I'd like to say, I take serious personal offense to being accused of being a murderer just because your moldy old religious book says so. Okay? I take deep personal offense to that.
And that's how we feel, okay?
The difference is we criticize Christians on the basis of what they actually do and actually say. Okay? You're criticizing atheists on the basis of what your holy book says about us.
I'm not criticizing.
And that's not fair. I think saying we 3 guys are going to be murderers because your holy book says so constitutes criticism. It actually constitutes a deep personal insult, but at the very least it constitutes criticism. And we're offended.
That's what God's going to say. That's what God says that's going to happen. I do not hate y'all guys. I just hate the sin. I got to realize that, man. Christians don't hate you. We hate the sin. Christians don't hate gay people. We hate the sin. Okay?
And tell Matthew Shepard's parents that.
And I'm just saying that's what the Bible is saying that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Do you got any other points you'd like to make?
No, but that was a very, very serious point. I don't see how more serious I could get to it. But if the Bible is correct, then you all 3 sitting there. If it is correct.
Yeah.
Now, if you're wrong, we have nothing to worry about.
If we're wrong,
my uncles again.
That's right.
If your Bible is wrong, we have nothing to worry about.
That's right. If the Bible is wrong, we have nothing to worry about. Nothing to lose when we die. All right.
Dodge that bullet.
But what if it's right?
What if
Wipe
it's
the sweat off your forehead again. What if it's right?
What if it's right? I mean,
what if it's right? What are the chances?
If it's right, we have nothing.
What are the chances that some wandering vagabonds in the Middle East 2,000 years ago knew exactly what was going to be happening in the next few years? What are the odds? It seems pretty slim to me. And personally, since I can tell you I'm not a murderer, okay. That right there, if your book says that I am a murderer and I'm not a murderer, your book is wrong, and we don't have to worry about it.
Not yet. It's prophecy, dude.
So we're being prophesized that we are going to be murderers.
Mark Twain.
No, I hope I'm not around. Okay. I mean, I believe in the rapture, okay? And the rapture means that we'll all be taken up in the twinkling of an eye, all right? I believe in it because I don't want to be here for it. And that's what our government is. It says it's going to be a cashless society. What are we working towards? A cashless society. I mean, look at our president up there, man. This world has no morals whatsoever. Even non-Christian friends that I know of even agree that the world has no morals whatsoever.
I don't agree with that at all.
The world
this is wrong. Everybody's making money. Everybody's happy. I don't agree with that.
The world has morals. You just don't agree with them.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't happen to be the morals you want the world to have.
Your standards, yes. And I do appreciate your call there, Rick.
All right.
Yeah, call in and insult us again anytime. Thank you.
You have a great week.
Mark Twain had a maxim about prophecies. It was 2 hits out of a possible million.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. All right, and
Man, oh man.
I want to mention this is modest. This
go
is
ahead,
modest prophecy when they say, "Oh well, it will all happen after we're all dead." And then what use is it?
Right.
all right. I thought I saw one. Yeah, let's go to Rock.
Hello.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Well, on your top 10 list of things that Christians say,
Yeah,
you missed one that I get all the time.
Which one's that?
I'd like to hear that. Yes.
Well, shouldn't you believe just in case?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in
Pascal's
case.
wager.
Pascal's wager.
variation.
Yeah, our top 10 list goes to 11 now.
Excellent point.
I forgot about Pascal's wager.
So, but have you heard? Have people given you the others here too, besides that one?
Well, the most recent time I was accosted, it was like the Apostles' Creed tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, it's all in the Bible.
It's
just
all
read
there,
it.
and I didn't kind of buy that, and I explained why, I felt that, life can spring from raw constituents of our universe and so forth. I've studied it. I got an astronomy degree. And I believe that, and when he realized he wasn't going to be able to convince me on those kind of first principles, and he said, well, just in case you should believe, which really denigrates their God, to think that, okay, you can't believe, but at least try to fool our God to save your soul or something.
Yeah, apparently their God is a sucker. You just pretend like you believe. You don't actually, just play it as a cost-benefit analysis, which it doesn't work that way either. Because if you're going to really look at things that way, you have to factor in that, what if Zeus is the real God and he'll fry you in hell for believing in Jehovah?
And there you go.
That was it, guys.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks. Have a great week. Let's do one more here. Tim?
What do y'all mean? Zeus is the real God.
Oh,
okay.
I knew it.
That's been a while, guys. How you doing, Ray?
All right.
Fantastic.
The guy that was calling just on the Revelations.
Yes.
There's nothing in there that says you guys are going to be running around in the streets killing anybody.
Thank you.
It's going to be
like I said, it's interpretation.
And it's not even really a future event too much. It's a kind of a present. We live in a police state, right? I mean, y'all realize
No.
all the
It depends on your definition of police state.
Yes.
Our police state definition is when the Constitution is flushed down the toilet, which has been going on for years. I mean, we're basically socialists.
Oh, wait a minute. I hear black helicopters.
Exactly. There you go. Well, they were in the newspaper 2 days ago. You seen that where they're crashing into Port Aransas and Kingsville, and
I saw.
Oh, so you got black helicopters with bad pilots.
exactly. That's even worse.
Yes.
Hopefully they can shoot their guns better than they
If
fly
they can't shoot us, they'll just dive bomb into us.
But I mean, no, Revelation is real interpretive, and it takes a lot of cross-checking back with Daniel and Ezekiel and all the other stuff to get what you want out of it. And if you look at it from an atheist point of view, you'll get absolutely nothing out of it.
Well, I just took it for the words that were in the book. What it said is what I read. See, and this is my take on the Bible. Because of the importance that's placed and the authority that's placed on this one particular book, it must mean that it must mean exactly what it says. And if it doesn't, it's meaningless.
Well, it's self-interpretative. It says that these things won't even be able to be understood until the time of the end.
There you go.
And I mean, but this is the time of the end.
Well, the guy that wrote it, he understood it.
Who?
The guy that wrote it supposedly understood it, or the people that wrote it.
He even said, he had to have half of it interpreted for him. What does this mean? The angel
I said
came down
he,
and said,
but the Bible
these
was actually...
these 7 horns are 7 hills. And
and there's a whole bunch of numbers.
Rome, which is going to be the head of the, that's all the...
Hey, I'm sorry for him, but the Roman Empire fell. It's over.
The empires never fell. They just changed hands.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
But I mean,
was in black
a month and a half ago. If you ever thought it might have fell, then it's definitely back about a month and a half ago when the common market united to one currency.
Yeah.
They're the most powerful economic force in the world right now.
And that has what to do with
Rome? They knocked us out of we're number 2 as a month and a half ago.
Wait, that has what to do with Rome?
What?
The European currency.
The euro.
The euro dollar. Has what to do with Rome?
Everything to do with Rome.
Oh, wait, I know who you are. You're the guy that thinks that Nostradamus nailed it.
Rome is in Europe.
Did Nostradamus does what?
You the guy that said that Nostradamus nailed it?
Oh, he nailed the Hitler history.
Okay.
Tim, you know how we react to the stuff. Why do you keep calling in?
Yeah, we call on that one too many times.
Yeah.
So,
my main point, though, to call was that guy, I mean, you guys are not going to be the ones out killing people. The police state will be.
Again, it's another interpretation to that particular verse that this guy, his interpretation was that we're going to be doing the murdering, and now you're saying the police are the ones going to be doing the murdering.
So are you?
But that's still interpretive. What it actually says is that Christians will not be able to buy or sell anything unless they take the mark of the beast, and if you do not, you will be subject to the death penalty. I mean, there's nothing that anybody's going to be mad running around killing people. But.
So, and it's not atheists that's giving out the mark of the beast or whatever else.
Right, it's going to be a religion-based thing. Atheists, it's real. It's coming up soon, though. So those things will be revealed soon.
Hey, wait a minute. I've heard people.
Arlo, our sound guy, wants to say something.
I've heard people say the Bible prophesized Hitler doing all his murdering. Now, if you apply it to that, well, it's already been done. It's over with.
Well, you got to be real careful when you interpret stuff. There's.
No,
yeah. You got to be careful. What you got to do is you got to be careful.
I wouldn't agree that there's anything in the Bible at all about Hitler.
Tim.
There's nothing in the Bible about Hitler.
There's nothing in Nostradamus about Hitler either.
There were people who seriously thought and seriously claimed that Nostradamus had predicted Hitler with exactly the same seriousness and exactly the same certainty as you're using now. How come they were wrong and you are right? How come?
Well, they were wrong because the scenario was incredibly close to what the Bible said. I mean, there was a...
They thought it was incredibly close at the time.
It was incredibly close. I mean, that's kind of scary.
So that you were both right? What do you mean?
No, actually, we're probably both wrong, but you gotta... if you quit searching...
I'm with you on that one.
I mean, if I was right about everything I've interpreted out of Revelation, then it would be really scary. But I'm not right about everything, but I keep my eyes open, and the things that are real close and the things that have happened are real obvious.
So can you give us a specific date?
Of what?
For anything. Tell us specifically when anything is going to happen, or give us a specific event that when it happens, we'll know that you're right.
Well, a lot of them already have. I can give you
No, not ones that already have, ones that are coming up. So we know that you have interpreted prophecy correctly, rather than simply interpreting it to match events that have already gone on.
We can do a count.
Tell us specifically something that's going to happen in the near future. Huh?
There are not any specific dates in the Bible.
Okay, forget dates. Give me a specific event. What?
Yeah. That's the CYA of the Bible.
Okay, forget dates. Give us a specific event. Tell me something specific that's going to happen.
Specific event?
Yeah.
We're recording this, and so this will go down in process. So we're going to see if the prophecy will come true.
So when they do happen, then we can go back.
Yeah, we say, look.
Or if they don't, until they do, we'll continue to make fun of you, Tim.
I can tell you the things that will happen, but they're not going to be sudden events like the mark of the beast. I mean, we've got 10 variations of the mark of the beast now, but eventually there will be a DNA chip implant.
You have 10 variations of the mark of the beast.
Well, it's a gradual progression to where people accept, first they didn't accept, Social Security numbers. Oh, we're not going to put a number on us.
Tim.
And gradually now we're going to, when it has DNA chip implants within 2 years.
Tim, there you go again.
Hey,
what
Tim.
you're doing is you've got this concept, this vague concept, the mark of the beast, and anything that looks vaguely like it. You've got 10 things so far. You just said anything that looks vaguely like it, you interpret as evidence of the prophecy being true. But you can't do that.
Well,
the prophecy has to be specific, and then has to actually happen.
What actually will happen? It will be a DNA chip implant to buy or sell. Now, it might sound like science fiction right now, but when you play this back in 2 years...
I'm sure we will have DNA, we will have biological chips implanted in human beings at some point to do something that you can interpret as, well, that's commerce. I'm sure we will.
Well, doesn't that
what does that
scare
prove?
you?
What does that prove?
It proves that some 2,000-year-old man could grasp the concept of people having things implanted in them to buy or sell things.
It would mean that if anywhere in the Bible it said biochip implants. But it doesn't. What it says is the mark of the beast, and you've already told us you picked out 10 completely different things and interpreted those as being indications of the mark of the beast.
Well, until really
so you're not
recently,
being
we could never
specific. You're just
grasp-
all over the place, looking for anything you can wildly interpret as being, vaguely similar to what you're looking for.
But here's the clincher.
Okay, clincher.
20 years ago, nobody would have understood a DNA chip implant to buy or sell anything.
Okay.
But now, we're doing that right now. I mean, we're putting biochip implants in people right now. You know that.
Yeah.
But what the Bible says on this, it says, is the mark will be the number of a man.
Yeah.
Right? You remember reading that?
Okay. I got the mark of the beast right here. Here it is. You look in the money, the new toy money we have now. There's that little strip inside it. You guys can't see it, but there's this little strip.
Is that one of your
inside
10?
it.
Is that one of your 10 things?
It says USA 20. The number of the beast is 20.
Except on a
well, no, the number of the beast is the number of a man.
Well, it's the number of a man, 20.
Well, what is the number of the man?
This particular man is Jackson.
If you take a DNA molecule and cut it, it comes. You have 666 DNA
Tim,
markers.
Do you know?
do
you know? Wait a minute. Okay, you
give him the
you get that one, and then I'll ask mine. Go ahead, Ray.
No, you cut up a DNA molecule and you get 666 what?
Well, I'm not a geneticist, but there's a good correlation in there somewhere.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't.
I got another mark of the beast. You see this barcode on the back of your license? Mark of the beast.
That's a gradual step towards it.
Do you happen to know, Tim, what the phrase "the number of a man" meant to the people who wrote the Bible? Do you have any idea what that phrase
meant? Well, the number of God was 3, and the number of man was 6, and if you put 3 6s together, you get man making himself God.
No, wait a minute. So you're saying then that the number of a man referred to in Revelations is 666, period, right? So if we put biochips in one guy, right, and the number on that thing is like 453, and another guy has a biological chip in him, and the number of that is 10,462, right? Neither one of those is the right number. Therefore, neither one of those is the mark of the beast. You gotta be held to specifics. If you're just free to make wild correlations of stuff that vaguely seems similar to you, then of course it's gonna seem to you like you've come up with something significant.
Well, they are vaguely.
You need some specifics. Where are they?
They're vaguely similar now. It's in the future they're going to be exact.
Well,
they're all vaguely similar.
They did not say biological implants. They didn't know what those were. They could have described them. They could have said, we're going to take this little thing made of sand, and we're going to put it in you, and it's going to magically be able to be detected by machines. They could have described it, even not knowing what it was, if they were being inspired by some deity telling them what was going to happen.
But they're trying to transfer information, and that's going to make no sense to most of human history.
What?
Anybody that read that for the vast majority of human history would get nothing out of that. I mean,
right?
Until 30 years ago, you say,
funny,
well, we're going to put a computer chip in you. They say, well, computer chip, why don't you just...
It's funny then, though, isn't it, that all through human history, people have been getting things out of it. They have been interpreting the mark of the beast to be all kinds of different things.
And we still don't know exactly what the final form's going to be, but we've moved
Or it may be that it's a load of doo-doo. Tim, it may be that the reason why we don't know exactly what it is because it was just wrong.
Since we're doing this for posterity, I want to call you on this one. So when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, we got this great new banking system, Y2K crash and all this stuff, why don't you just put this little chip in your hand so you can buy or sell stuff? Are you going to take that chip?
Sure.
Man, you got balls. I got to tell you that. Somebody comes up with me with a biochip, I'm shooting back.
You go right ahead and be a technophobe if that's the way you feel.
I'm a computer nerd, actually, but
what if they have
what makes biological chips especially nasty? Huh? Other than that, you have interpreted your holy book to tell you that they're bad. Other than that, what in fact actually is the practical downside
of taking the
emerging biology and electronics?
Oh, the fact that they can track you from a global satellite, and the fact that they can control your
They can do that without a chip.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, please, Arlo.
You're arguing for two things. You can be afraid of these things without thinking the Bible interpreted it.
Sure.
You know, there's two ways, you know, so I don't really know why you have to cling on. I can tell you fear this very much, and we're not saying that you shouldn't fear it, really. I mean, I'm not saying that anyway. You know, go ahead and fear it. Let's try to point at the Bible.
Fear might be a strong word. I kind of look forward to it myself.
You look forward to it?
Forward to it.
Well, for Christians, it's...
Because God's going to come down and whisk you off to happy land.
It's the end time.
Happy land.
I'm just saying, just because I'm atheist doesn't mean I'm going to allow someone to implant a chip into me so they'll know where
good
I am
point,
in
Arlo.
the world.
But you know, if you're going to be concerned about a technology, be concerned about it for practical reasons. Don't be concerned about it because some guys 2,000 years ago wrote down the words mark of the beast, and you've given yourself the leeway to interpret those words to mean this thing that you might actually have other practical reasons to be against. Be against it for the practical reasons. All this Bible stuff is nonsense.
Well, the practical reason is you can't be against it because it's going to solve all the world's economic problems. I mean, it's a great
good. Let
idea.
it hurry up and do so.
And I appreciate your call, Tim, but we got a bunch of other callers.
Okay, yeah, it's just good to hear you from y'all again.
All right, you have a great
Bye,
day.
Tim.
And there's plenty of religions out there that won't even do a tattoo because they feel that that's the mark of the beast.
Oh, there it is. Mark of the beast. Oh,
Yes.
where is it? There it is.
I forgot
It even is
That
a beast.
would be a dragon.
It can fly too.
I see all the callers that are on the line, but we do want to get to our regular segment here.
Oh.
Critical thinking. And
I almost forgot because I didn't do it last week.
Yeah, you're doing such a great job with that. I didn't want to miss it.
Hi, folks. This week's installment of Tools of Critical Thinking. We didn't do it last week because, to be honest, I forgot to bring in my notes. But this week's episode is the burden. Last week's episode, or the week before last episode, was the burden of proof. The burden of proof always rests with the person making the positive claim, because the absence of disconfirming evidence is not as conclusive as the presence of confirming evidence. This week's critical thinking tip: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. You've probably heard this phrase before, but what does it mean to say that a person has made an extraordinary claim? Some say that an extraordinary claim is anything outside of everyday experience. Gravity happens to everyone, so they say that gravity is ordinary. Likewise, only a minority claim to have been abducted by UFOs, so UFO abduction stories are extraordinary. But the problem with this interpretation is that some events are uncommon, but quite real nonetheless. Moon landings or atomic bomb explosions, for example. And other events, such as mirages, may be common, but they are also commonly misinterpreted. So everyday experience does not appear to be a very good standard of extraordinariness. Others say that extraordinariness is a matter of personal opinion. To the UFO believer, UFO sightings are not unusual at all, while a commitment to skepticism raises the standard of evidence impossibly high. But if all claims are only as good as one's own subjective bias, it becomes meaningless to talk about standards of evidence at all. Each person is left to believe whatever he or she wants to believe is true, quality of evidence notwithstanding. In fact, this concept is meant to be resolved scientifically, not on the basis of everyday evidence and not on the basis of subjective opinion. A claim which, if true, would overturn an idea which has been the subject of numerous scientific tests and appears to be highly reliable is an extraordinary claim, while one which, if true, fits well within the bounds of established scientific understanding is an ordinary one. But there is no hard line between the two. Some claims are more ordinary than others, and some only slightly violate currently well-established principles. There is a continuum from highly likely to highly unlikely, given what we currently know. Let's move on to the question of evidence. What's the difference between ordinary evidence and extraordinary evidence? Once again, the truth is that there is a continuum from no evidence at all to extremely thorough and conclusive evidence. The more extraordinary the claim, the more thorough and conclusive the evidence must be in order for that claim to stand up against the weight of our current knowledge. Claiming to have walked on the moon or exploded atomic weapons, while not within the bounds of everyday experience, do not violate any established scientific laws and are therefore ordinary claims, though they would still require more extraordinary evidence than, for example, a claim that you had once visited Houston or set off a firecracker. Claiming to have met an angel from heaven, on the other hand, would require an entire new class of previously unknown spiritual phenomena. That would make it a very extraordinary claim indeed, and the most thorough and conclusive or extraordinary evidence would be required in order to support it. Next week, we will discuss the function of materialism in science. Thanks very much.
Thank you, and I enjoyed that series, and I don't think the believers out there really understand what a claim they make when they try to define their version of a God, what an extraordinary claim those really are.
Right. It's difficult from the point of view of somebody who already is a believer, because to them, if they use the common experience or personal bias interpretation of that demand for extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims, they don't think they're making an extraordinary claim at all. Well, it's God. Everybody knows God.
Yeah. So, I appreciate all the callers waiting there, and I appreciate Jeff's episode, and looking forward to next week's episode. And we'll get back to our calls now. Let's go to RC, it looks like. RC?
Pardon me.
Yeah, concerning evidence there, wouldn't... I don't know, you guys were not old enough to remember when the Beatles said that they were more popular than Jesus Christ, but you probably
I remember the comment.
Have read the statement. But,
I thought it was they were actually misquoted, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll assume that they were misquoted, but would you agree that Jesus Christ has been an outstanding role model for most of the people of your generation and our generation?
No. And
would you agree that he was an actual time-space historical person?
No. I don't feel that there's enough evidence to prove a historical person, Jesus Christ.
Well, that's looking at the evidence when a person's name is on every 2 or 3 blocks and basically saying, we just won't believe what's just common knowledge.
The only book that has anything to do with Jesus Christ is the Bible, and you can't be self-fulfilling on your evidence. You have to have other evidence to back it up. And if you base all your evidence on one book, and you can have anything, you can prove it anything you want.
Right. You ever read the writings of Josephus, who lived at that day and time? He had several things to say about Jesus of Nazareth.
And those passages from Josephus are widely regarded as forgeries.
Yes. We have older documents and older transcripts of Josephus to show what it was before it was altered.
Well, assuming that they made Jesus...
Do we? Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't my understanding.
Yeah, one last question.
Sure.
Assuming that they made this Jesus person up, can you think of a person in history that would be a better role model than Christ?
Carl Sagan.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Right off the top of my head. Carl Sagan. Never killed anybody, was always very polite, always very friendly, and cared about what was true.
Excellent point.
Carl Sagan was better role model than Christ.
I would say yes.
Okay, I'll leave it with that.
All right. You have a great day.
I'm sorry, I probably offended him. I didn't mean to.
All right. So I guess
my answer.
It doesn't take much.
Let's go to Bill.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My question is, most atheists do not believe in the theory of creation. Is that correct?
I wager
can't
to say
see
that
how an
all
atheist possibly could. If you don't believe in the God that did the creating, how can you believe in the creation?
But not the God. I mean, any God. You guys just totally disregard creation.
True. Yeah.
So then you talk about scientific evidence being so important.
Yeah.
Well, recently, within the last 20 years, scientific evidence has proven that you can't just create something by accident. Okay, I mean, they've been trying, but they proved that that's not the case.
Yeah,
and so, they don't. All the things that they've been creating lately, with test tubes and all, they've pretty much scientifically proven that they can't do it without some order and design.
No, that is not correct. What you are, the statement you are making is just not correct.
Well, so okay, give me an example of a thing that they created just by mixing two things together and it went poof.
That is not why your statement is incorrect.
Okay, tell me.
It is true that we have not made life in a test tube. That is true. But it is incorrect to say that it has been proven that you can't.
Okay, at this time it hasn't been proven yet.
Sure.
Right, okay.
But, you know, 300 years ago, it would have been true to say that we have not found a way to fly. We have not been able to make machines that can fly. And people at that time were saying it is therefore proven that it is impossible to make a machine that can fly.
Right, I understand
that statement is
sense.
just like the statement you're making now and just as untrue.
No, well, I'm not saying that in the future we won't be able to accidentally create something. But at this point, we know that we can't. Okay, so here's my real question. So we get to the evolution theory, which to me is just ignorant, because how could we come from a ape and maybe not a pig or a horse?
Let me stop you right there, because
that to me, you all of a sudden say we come from apes because we look like apes.
Okay.
But if we look like pigs, we'd come from pigs. You know,
well,
or if
do you
we
know
look
that
like
you can take
cows, we'd come from cows.
You know that a pig's heart and a human's heart are very similar?
Well, so is a frog and a human. You know, when you were in high school, you dissected a frog and you said, oh, look, when you stretch it out, it kind of looks like a person. Well, now I guess we evolved from frogs. I mean, come on. You know, that is the most ridiculous theory.
No, wait a minute.
Well, first you're saying that we came from...
And then atheists teach that to kids in school and say, you know, we evolved from a fish who jumped out onto the land, and then the fish became an ape, and then that became us. You know, the fish didn't become a pig, or it didn't become a cow first. Or,
well, no, you got
there's no logic behind that whole theory.
There is, and we'll explain it to you.
It's a scientific kind of theory.
Sir?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Start off with, it's not a straight chain from the one-cell life to humans that we have now. There is a branch, it's a bush, it's going out. So there's branches that have gone out and have actually died and are no longer here. So yes, you could actually trace us all back to one single-cell life form like 3-point-some-odd billion years ago. And so we all have the same ancestor.
And plus that myth about us coming from monkeys has been just on and on forever, and it's not how it works.
Okay, well, explain. I mean, that's what you teach in school, though.
No, that's not what they teach. That's
what
they
teach in
and
school?
please, before you start characterizing evolution as ignorance, you really ought to learn what evolution actually says.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I was in school, and what they told me and thousands of other kids, is basically that, like you said, we came from a one-cell thing, you know, and then through this tree of evolution, you know, all of a sudden the fish jumped out of the water, and they showed us like little videos, you know, like little cartoon kind of character videos where
what grade are we talking about here?
We're talking like 3rd grade, 4th grade. I don't remember.
Okay.
You know, it was a long time ago. So we jump out onto the land, and the fish becomes, and because we have fish even nowadays that breathe, that live both in the water and on the land, then all of a sudden that's like you know, there's an example. So they use that little thing in the movie that they show all the kids. You know, see, this is like where we came from. We were first this, and then all of a sudden, you know, that fish, he rolls around and he says, oh, I like the land, so I'm going to stay on the land. And then he all of a sudden becomes a pig. I mean, they just jump right from this fish thing.
Yeah, I think
like
the thing.
living animals.
Me, sir.
And then, wait a second, let me finish. Then once they get to the living animal part, all of a sudden they jump from the living animals, okay? You got to understand it. First it's kind of confusing how the fish became a horse and a pig, but then even worse, all of a sudden humans pop up from the monkey. Not from any other living animal on the land, just from the chimpanzee, the monkey.
Actually, I mean, it's not a monkey.
That's what we were told.
All right, but please.
Let Jeff talk.
Please. You're talking about a cartoon showed to 3rd graders, right? And I think the problem here is that you have taken this cartoon show to 3rd graders and assumed that is entirely representative of all of evolutionary theory, and that's just not correct.
Well, that's the
3rd graders,
of it.
excuse me,
Okay.
Third graders will also be shown cartoons of little dancing letters of the alphabet, but nobody's really telling children that the letters of the alphabet dance around or are little characters. That was trying to get the basic idea across to little kids in school. They did not mean to say that very same creature was like an amoeba, then it turned into a fish, then it jumped up on land, then it turned into a pig, and then it turned into a horse. They were not saying that. They were illustrating the general flow of development of forms over millions and millions of years.
Right, okay, so the general flow is being basically, explained to these kids, but the atheists, you guys, basically agree with that general theory.
Yeah, and the problem with that is...
And the problem is, the problem is, how did the fish become a pig, and how did the monkey become a man?
What do you mean become? Do you mean to? Are you asking me how it could be that a fish gives birth to a pig?
No,
is that what you're asking?
I mean, you guys.
You do understand that the fish gives birth to another fish, and it's not that next fish that is a pig. It is a fish that is slightly more adapted to living on land, right?
Right. Okay.
So you got to ask the right questions. I mean, we're trying to help you out here.
But we still have that today. The fish that is living on land, who's quite more adapted to living on land. And then, but what I'm saying is, what evidence does evolution have that all of a sudden
why do you keep saying all of a sudden? I thall you understood that it does not happen all of a sudden.
Well, relatively speaking, it is kind of all of a sudden. We went from some Big Bang thing that created the planet to a pig needing to be a pig because he needed to evolve into this pig, and then. He couldn't stay as kind of like a fish.
I thought that this might come up.
Excuse me, sir. Vic has a point.
I thought that the evolution thing might come up, so I actually got the definition of Darwinian evolution. And it's this. If within a species there is a variation among individuals in their hereditary traits, and some traits are more conducive to survival and reproduction than others, then those traits will become more widespread within the population. The result is that the species' aggregate pool of hereditary traits changes. That's Darwinian evolution.
And sir, hang on, Arlo had a point.
Well, actually, that's what I was going to bring up, is that the basics of evolution is not that we start out with single cells and end up with people. The basics of evolution are Darwinian natural selection.
Yeah, and that's how it happens. You have...
Okay, but what caused the humans to come from all of a sudden one of the...
You really need to stop saying all of a sudden. We're talking about periods of millions of years.
Of animals that walk the earth today. I mean, you just because we look like apes, we came from apes, but we couldn't have came from like...
Please let me address this. It's very interesting. You're saying that you're suggesting that there's a flaw here, that the only reason that evolutionists think we came from apes is because of the similar look?
Right.
Okay. Let me explain to you what happened. Back in Darwin's day, about all they had to go on was what things looked like. And for convenience sake, they organized all the creatures into groups of things that looked the same and did roughly the same thing. Right? And that's all they had to go on. But now, since we have unlocked the secrets of DNA, we can actually do tests to compare the DNA between two species. And we're finding that in some cases they were wrong. In some cases, things that looked similar are not that closely related.
Right.
But in the case of apes and of humans and chimpanzees, 98% of the DNA 98% of human DNA is identical to the DNA in chimps.
I don't know.
Well, that's a fact, sir.
Well, but they didn't. That's just a fact. But they didn't look at the DNA and say, let's say, for example, that it's pretty similar to an alligator, and they said, well, that just blew that theory out of the water because we didn't test every living creature on the planet.
We have tested a vast number of creatures.
And all of a sudden decided, oh, look, this is pretty similar. See, that proved our theory.
No, excuse me.
See, that's pretty weak.
What happened was they had a hypothesis, And they tested the hypothesis by looking at the DNA, and they have found that in some cases their hypothesis was wrong. Some, like bird species that look similar, weren't really that closely related, but in other cases they were very accurate. And one of those cases is chimps and humans.
Yeah, but my whole argument is the fact that, you know, they purposely didn't check the DNA of all living creatures to say, "Ooh, look, we're also similar to frogs."
So now there's a conspiracy theory among scientists.
When you stretch a frog out, we look like a frog, and also the DNA is similar. So, oh, I'm sorry, we were wrong. We actually evolved from frogs and not apes.
Animals. We have checked on the animals, everything from orchids to frogs. But we're not. There's millions of species out there. Don't expect us to check every one.
Well, but don't say that we came from just one that we look like. Again,
in fact, that is not what evolution says. Evolution does not say we evolved from chimpanzees.
Well, then how come you keep showing the picture of those apes on the TV there?
None of those are chimpanzees.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
None of those are chimpanzees.
Well, there's that.
And then the missing link. How come you ain't got that guy in there?
Because.
What would that guy look like, sir?
Okay. I got a bunch of other callers. I need to go. And I do appreciate your call. You have a great day. Somebody released it, but I didn't even hit the button there.
Wow.
That was Bill we just got done with.
No, that was Bozo.
That was Bozo?
That was line 2.
Oh, okay, is Beau still on?
No, I just
Let's go to Bill. Let's go to
because that's
you
not
have a
Bill.
4.
Let's go to 3.
Chris?
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Good morning.
I was just wondering if you said that the Bible, you don't believe in the Bible. Is that right? That there was ever a Jesus Christ?
No.
I
because there's no proof that that he was ever here besides the Bible, right?
It varies. I mean, we are not saying definitively that there never was, but we are saying that there is very, very scanty evidence.
And there's people in our group that do believe that there was a Jesus Christ, but don't believe in God. I've talked to people in the group, and there's people that believe that there really was a historical figure named Jesus. So that's not a common consensus among atheists, but that is my point of view. Vic's point of view.
I'm sharing that one.
And Jeff?
I'm very doubtful about the historical basis of Jesus.
Okay, so go ahead.
Ask your question.
Okay, so like, I mean, what proof do you have that we were evolved from apes? I mean, isn't that kind of funny? I mean,
we just went through this.
We have tons and tons of proof.
Do you have a higher being?
No.
A higher being.
You mean like a supernatural type being?
Well, I guess so.
Well, no. It's up to you to define that. You ask us a question. You have to be able to define your question. So, what do you mean by higher being?
Like, as in mine is the God, the Lord.
And
no.
What
and
is
define
for us to have a higher being?
I was going to say define God.
A higher being.
Okay,
wow,
then
that was
circular. I got a new job. I guess my boss is God. Gotta answer to them.
Do you see how illogical that train of thought just transpired there, sir? Do you realize how illogical that was?
No, I don't think so.
Well, go ahead and ask your question then. You have a question.
He hung up.
Yeah, I guess to try to answer him by his definition, if he thinks that what he's asking us is, do we have a God? The answer is no.
All right. Let's go on down to Bill. Bill?
No.
I didn't think so. What's your name, sir?
My name is Michael.
Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I was just curious how many of the last 3 or maybe 4 callers actually believe that the world is not flat.
I did get a chance to ask him. That would have been a great question to ask him. You're right.
And Tim, the prophet from a few minutes ago,
yes.
I was wondering if he had any insight on what the Rockets might do today.
Oh.
Anyway,
I want the lotto numbers.
But I really love your show, and these people that call in just crack me up.
Thank you.
And y'all just keep it up.
Thank you.
All right.
You have a great week. All right, Keith. Let me see. Let's go to Beau. Beau?
Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah. Yeah, not only are we not descended from apes of any sort, we're not even descended from other creatures that look like us, kind of, sort of, like Neanderthals, for example.
We're not.
Right.
We were created in the form that we presently see. Is that what you're going to tell me?
created?
No, that's not what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is...
I was paraphrasing him. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
What I was going to say is, not only if people are widely, they have this misconception that we're descended from apes, they also think we're descended from creatures like Neanderthals, which we're not.
Right.
And people don't seem to understand how evolution works at all. It's very, very slow, very incremental, takes place over geologic time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think people can
I kept saying, all of a sudden, millions of years.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a little point about prophecy.
Sure.
I mean, if prophecy were real, if prophecy really existed, I mean, people can prophesy. Doesn't mean that it's actually going to come true.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
A guy made a point earlier that if I think it was Jeff said that those people way back then, they could have described things that maybe they wouldn't have understood.
Yeah.
And the guy said, well, what good would it be to make a prophecy like that if nobody understands it? Well, the thing is, if it really is going to be prophecy, wouldn't it could possibly be something that would actually name specific names, dates, places, events, concepts, which could possibly remain incomprehensible until certain events or people or whatever come along.
Right. I mean, Tim was interpreting that prophecy now, right? Now would be the time when that prophecy that nobody understood all that time, and they never understood it before, right? And now would be the time when it would be valuable for those prophecies to be specific.
I mean, like
they want to take advantage of an appeal to supernatural powers to get away with stuff, but they don't want to recognize that once you've appealed to supernatural powers, all bets are off. There's no reason why a supernatural power that could really prophesy couldn't be specific.
Yeah, and like Nostradamus, for example, his quatrains are so I mean, they're so incomprehensible.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to interpret Hitler as being Hitler,
right?
Well, why didn't he just come right out and say, maybe not just Hitler, but say like Schicklgruber, for example?
Yeah.
Why couldn't he have named certain events profound? I mean, the most significant events surrounding Hitler, surrounding World War II, surrounding this century in general. I mean, if he was really that good of a prophet, if any of these prophets are really all that good, why aren't they specific? Names, dates, places, events, concepts. Let's have a little detail, boys.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye now.
We're out of time. Yes. Have a great day. Let's go on down to Beau.
Ray.
Yes.
Okay, this is Beau, Ray.
Hey, Beau. How you doing?
Finally broke down and called in.
Yes. Thanks
so
for
everyone knows I normally watch from the other studio and get all in a bind, but never had the time to call in. But let me be as brief as possible. It looks like several people need slaps upside the head here, so we'll be quick about it. The bad role model. Is Jesus a role model?
Right. That was a good question. Yeah.
Right. I would say no, because Jesus, at least the human being that's responsible for Christianity, knew exactly what was going on. They knew that they were looked upon as higher than they actually were, and so I say that they're guilty of that. And I just do not. That's not a role model to go around claiming you're God.
Excellent point.
Unless, of course, he was. Okay, this is to Jeff. I'm not sure if I understand this correctly. Does the burden of proof also apply to the negative as well? Right?
No, the burden of proof falls on the person making the positive claim.
Okay, and also on someone making a negative claim.
Give me an example. And I'll tell you how it applies.
Monica Lewinsky did not perform oral sex in the White House.
You're making that claim.
I'm making that negative claim.
Right. Thank you for bringing this up, because the question is whether the event occurred or not, or whether the subject being discussed is true or not, right? And it would fall on the person making the claim that she did a thing to prove that thing happened, because then the reason that has to be the case is because things that didn't happen don't leave evidence. Okay, there's the only way you can have some conclusive evidence that a thing happened is if you have evidence that the thing happened. You follow me?
No, not really.
You can say Monica Lewinsky did not do X.
Right.
Right. And you can't. That is not a thing to prove.
Well,
okay. So
okay.
it's not a valuable assertion. You can the only way the issue can be resolved.
Yes.
Right. Is by either you remain uncertain, or you prove that she did X.
Right. So you are uncertain as to whether it did not happen or not. Huh?
Sure.
Right. Okay. So atheism, then, in your eyes, is then an uncertainness to the aspect of God, the existence of God, and all that.
Okay. Yes, but only in a general sense. If people give me a specific definition of God that is inherently inconsistent, then I will say that I think it's pretty certain that that definition is not true because of the way it's phrased. But if you phrase God in some very vague kind of general sense that dodges all of those logical inconsistencies, yeah, I don't know if a thing like that exists or not. But
wait a minute, are you saying then that Jesus Christ was not, or Jesus the guy who existed was not God? You would make that statement, or you would just?
Since I have not seen any evidence of the existence of a being that fits the common definitions of God, right?
Right.
I am not certain that it doesn't exist.
Right. Okay.
But there's a whole separate issue here of what kind of things are worthy of belief, and a completely uncertain thing is just not worthy of belief. Therefore, I don't believe it.
Right. The universe would have to be totally irrational for that to happen and all that.
Okay. So that's the God issue. So then I can pretty safely say, boy, there's no sense in believing that Jesus was God if I don't see any sense to believe that there is such a thing as God. Right.
All right.
All right.
Oh, can I just go on here?
All right. I appreciate your call.
What now?
I say appreciate your call.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Why not biometrics and all that? I draw the line at the body. There is a danger in letting the government into your body. That's a real danger, and it's not just some imaginary fairy tale that's dug up from 2,000 years ago.
And I'm all in favor of seriously thinking about serious issues, but assuming that a thing is bad just because you have interpreted your holy book to tell you that it is bad is, I think.
Well, just because some things link up with the holy book doesn't mean that they're wrong. I mean,
no, and I made that clear, right?
Yeah,
if there are practical issues, then we should address those practical issues and not leap to an assumption that there are bad things just because of the holy book.
But I mean, there's at least from I forgot the other guy's name.
Vic?
Nick? Right, I'm sorry.
Vic.
With a V.
But there's a lot of buffoonerization of the whole Mark of the Beast stuff, the numbering of people.
Oh, I was making fun of it. I wasn't trying to be serious.
But you would have to say that, do you believe that we're going to have one mark for the establishment, that the establishment of the world or whatever is going to recognize it?
No. That's a little far-fetched. These marks, what people are claiming to be marks, is just, there's like the barcode in the back of the license. That's just to accommodate technology.
Right.
The little thing in the dollar bill, that's just to keep it from being easy to forge a dollar bill. There's no one mark or anything like that.
Well, we already have two marks that would identify you. I guess your nationality and then the Social Security number. That would identify you specifically.
Yes, but if you got a plan like Social Security, I mean, you have to have a way of identifying this particular person, and a number is the best way to do it.
Right, of course. No, it's very efficient, and I'm saying that it will eventually move to that. That's obvious. Right. It's not something to fear as far as I'm concerned, but something to be aware of. I think it's... Anyway, so that deals with that guy's call about the prophecy, and you asked for a specific prophecy, and then he gave you one, and I don't know if you realize that he gave you a prophecy that in 2 years... we will have DNA implants. Now, he's basing his prophecy on...
Specifically, I missed it. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, Tim, 2 years. I'm counting.
Okay, good. So but he based it on the Bible. So, if you see now what y'all have done is, if he is correct, you've given not credence in reality, but some people will find that gives credence to the Bible.
Why are we calling that a prophecy?
It's a very small sample.
I don't know why we're calling that a prophecy. He didn't base it on the Bible. He based it on technology, heard it on the news in the past few years.
That may be true too.
And he claims included the Bible. Yeah, okay, you're right though. Let me just on the last statement was actually the first thing I wanted to say, and then.
Okay, I'm down to 2 minutes.
Okay, y'all let this guy. I guess everyone gets a smack about this. you let this guy get away with that the egg being 3 parts comment, because all you have to do is ask him is Jesus just a part of God? And I don't think that would be okay with that person.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I guess really Jesus is, I guess if you're talking about the shell, the yolk, and the
and the egg white.
The white. I guess Jesus would be the shell then.
Okay.
He'll be an empty shell. And actually, what they've confused as 3 parts making a whole is actually 3 empty shells from parts and fragments of various things throughout history, and they're putting together to imagine one actual egg.
Yeah.
All right, y'all take care.
Take care.
All right.
All right, let's go to, quickly, last call. Mike, want to remind everybody we're going down to the Hot Jumble Bakery down on 5th and Lavaca. We'd love to have you all down there. Okay, Mike, you're our last caller. I didn't cut him off. I'm sorry. Somebody else cut him off. We're down to a minute. Just want to remind everyone, like I say, we're heading down to the Hot Jumble Bakery as soon as we leave here. Great job, Vic. Appreciate having you on the show. Would you like to say anything, Jeff?
No.
Thought you might have.
I have nothing to add at the moment.
Okay.
Just tell Mike and Russell to call back next week.
Yes, if you didn't get through there, that was our voicemail or call back next week.
And a quick answer to number 8, if you're a cold, empty person without God or Jesus, well, no, I'm not a cold, empty person. I'm a rather nice guy. I was going to try to answer a few of them, but we ran out of time first. And that's us, Atheist Community of Austin, P.O. Box 3798, Austin, Texas. Voicemail 371-2911.
Free Thought Roundup, April 2nd.
We should be off in about 2 seconds here. Bye. See y'all.